Can I just restart for 2 seconds because I forgot to hit record. Okay, apologies. All right, all I know is it was something about YouTube commenters driving people crazy, which, I mean, I've felt my fair share of that. Okay.
This week,
I will say true again.
to venture into the depths of one of the most feared dungeons, not only in Final Fantasy XIV, but the entire world. One which strikes fear in the heart of all who witness them, and drives even the strongest to madness. The YouTube comment section.
True. True, it's bad down there, guys. Yeah.
So a little while back...
Wait, what did that say? You got me with some clickbait, so I went ahead and reported you as being a terrorist. Lol. Wish I could do more, but there is laws. Wow, they didn't even spoil anything. That's crazy.
I made a video about a couple of the previous features in FF14 that got removed in expansions past, and why I was happy that they were smited from the game. I talk about belts, cross-class skills, weird funky...
You guys were explaining belts to me the other day, and I absolutely need to see a video about belts. Like, Volps was explaining belts to me the other day in Discord voice chat, and I was like, what? There were fucking belts? And it made me realize I actually really like how they do the gear system in FF, where it's like all the main pieces go down the left side, and like all your kind of like accessories and off pieces go down the right side. It's like really easy to track. I really like that. It's like good for my nice smooth brain, you know. Like in WoW, they it's like all over the fucking place. It like goes from like your head downwards down to your fucking toes, like left to right. So like all your main pieces are like scattered, and it's all like drawing your eyes across and shit. I find it so much easier to track when it's like, cool, these are my 5 main set pieces, and these are my accessories. I like that. I WoW in WoW.
Uses and a lot more. And there were a lot of comments on that video, like a lot of comments.
Wow, that's a lot of comments.
Pretty much all of them. And while some of them had to be sent to the void of Shadowban Hell just for being, well, kind of mean or obnoxious, there are a bunch of interesting and valid points brought up. Things that I didn't mention in my original video, features that ruined the playing experience for other people, and they too are glad have been yeeted, and even a handful of suggestions of quality of life features that folk would love to see added to the game in the future. So today, it's...
What are your top 5 quality of life features you'd like to see added to the game, guys? Out of interest. I honestly, I'd have to think about this for a bit to work out. Yeah, chat bubbles for sure. Better tab targeting, hell yeah. Butt slider, come on. I mean, not wrong, kind of based actually, but glam dresser. Oh, one thing I would like to be able to do is like glam items with a prism, which are in my glam dresser without having to be in an inn. So like if I'm out in the world, I can, you know, on the drop down box, and you can choose like stuff that's in your inventory, and there is a section for glam dresser, but you can't actually like access it unless you're in the inn. That would be nice. Like more kind of just accessibility with glam there. Tab targeting, yeah, tab targeting just in general is ass, but PvP particularly bad, right? A glam catalog. Ooh, that would be good. Yeah, like WoW has the like appearances tab, I think it's called. Yeah, so you can kind of look up glams and preview them on your character and see where they come from. That would be really useful. That would be awesome, actually. Yeah, more glam plates. Maybe bump it up to 50 glam plates. Surely they have the server space for that, right? Better netcode. I think the netcode's generally okay, but maybe I haven't seen it in its like worst for worst. Like if it's a couple fights where you get fucked by it. I know people complain about the Fall Guys netcode thing, but I think in my experience, the netcode's been pretty fine. As long as like I just look at the telegraph and not the actual like animation of the ability, it's usually been fine, right? Repair all button. They have that, don't they? Oh, like you have to scroll down like 5 different sections and click it 5 times, don't you? Personally, I like tab targeting, but I haven't really played. All right, I'll tell you this. Don't ever play WoW. Full stop. But I meant like the tab targeting in WoW. If you play that, and you then have a comparison point to FFs, you'll be like, holy shit, this is bad. Never have, never will. Based. But yeah, the tab targeting in WoW is actually pretty decent. Pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. It's a hell of a step up from FF for sure. Which like I think a lot of people, myself included, they use that as their comparison again. Like a lot of people have like come like either dabbled in WoW or they're like refugees, right? And they've come to FF, so they have the like, oh yeah, it was It was better. It was better. Ooh. I got one. More than 5 slots in a trade window. How about that? How about them apples? Updating the max skill you can trade at a time. Yes, that's true as well. Maybe put that up to like 10 mil or something. Yeah, because like if you want to send, like you have to do 1 mil, 1 mil, 1 mil, 1 mil. Yeah, it's just small things that they could definitely add over time. Although I do appreciate that they work on like more needed game. Like if they've got to make a choice between like, let's put someone on the case to make it so you can trade more than 1 mil. Firstly, I think that's probably quite an easy thing to fix and change. But a lot of under the hood kind of stuff is like very much spaghettied all over the place with the coding. So maybe that's like a bit bigger job than it seems, you know, on the surface. And if they've got to put like, you know, resources into that, I do appreciate that they instead put the resources into the actual game and the gameplay and stuff, right?
It's not about me and what I think. It's about you and what you think. Here are the
me
things
specifically.
in Final Fantasy XIV that Final Fantasy XIV players are glad have been removed, or things they wish would get added.
We didn't even get into the actual video
please,
yet.
Square Enix.
The glamour dresser limit.
Here
Making
we
it a
go.
catalog instead of a storage would be a dream come true.
So I feel
that's literally what you guys just said, isn't it? Yeah, that's basically what they have in WoW with the appearance thing. Like you acquire the appearance as like a just in your transmog like gallery, and you don't have to hold the item or put it anywhere. They used to have it like this, where you had there's a thing in WoW called void storage. I'm pretty sure it still exists, but not a single person uses it. Pre-watched, yeah, by you guys. I didn't come up with this. You guys said this in chat. You can't say pre-watched. Yeah, there used to be a thing you had to like hold all the like glams or transmogs that you wanted and put them in the void storage, so you could glam to them. But now it's just like once you have the appearance one time, you can just vendor the item and you keep the appearance, which is cool.
Feel you on this. I've been saying similar on and off for well over half a decade because I want the exact same thing.
That's a lot of likes on that comment.
The way the glamour system was originally was an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, it's a thing,
you had
Amber,
to essentially
but no one
store
uses it,
all
right?
of your glamours via your own sorting methods in your retainers,
Oh, look at
inventory or
that.
saddleback. Be very picky about what you kept and threw away, and individually glamour every single piece, every single time. Because there was no glamour plate feature at all. The glamour dresser and glamour plate functions were added as a fix for this janky system, and they were revolutionary for players at the time because what they were used to beforehand was just so bad. But they felt like somewhat of a half-measure fix. There was still a problem with the system. Firstly, the glamour dresser size, which at least has been expanded multiple times.
Dude,
but
400?
Glamour plates sometimes breaking, limited sorting and organization options in the dresser, the overall limits of them meaning that you often just collected the essentials, and loads more. What many wanted was a co-op of the transmog system from World of Warcraft. A glamour book, where when you open it, it is a catalogue of every...
Imagine FF players wanting something from WoW. How the turntables.
Piece of gear and weaponry you've ever collected, and with a simple click, you can extract an untradeable, stat-free version of that gear from the catalogue to use as glamour. Interestingly though, this is a feature that has been mentioned by Yoshi P in numerous live letter Q&A sessions.
Oh, that's good.
From live letter 13 back in 2014, he states, "A plan for a weapons and armor compendium has come my way. The plan is to allow you to read about the origins of each weapon and armor after you've completed the series. We would like to implement this as well."
Yoshi,
now I'm pretty sure this is referring to
that was
lore
10 years
in game
ago.
rather than them actually being retrievable items. But it could act as somewhat of a precursor to a glamour book system, and that alone is super cool to see. Then, in live letter 16, somebody asks if there's any update on the weapon and armor log. He notes this: "We've currently finished off a lot of the details, but we have for plans of implementation, we've been estimating the amount of work for each. The first idea would simply have players building a collection of weapons and armor, while the second idea would allow players to read the lore surrounding the gear they obtain. However, this data will affect the player data used in real time, so we are carefully investigating this at the moment. Next week we will reach a conclusion and proceed for actual implementation." Well, based on the fact that we never actually saw this feature, I guess we know what the verdict was. But this next live letter answer is the really juicy one. This is from a Q&A after...
It's crazy like how slow they are at implementing this kind of stuff. Like the whole chat bubbles thing, like coming soon, like it's confirmed. Like, no what... They must just have really limited resources and they put massive priority into like the gameplay of the game. Because there's like no one doing this kind of like quality of life stuff, it seems. Like if it's taken 10 years and they haven't put something like this in, the only other example of that I can think of is like WoW's Auction House update, which took like 6 years or something from when they announced it, which is a lot of time, but 10 years is nuts for something like this, right? Yeah, like their website and stuff as well. Like, can they update their fucking website, please? It's a 10th Circle of Hell. Yeah, the Square Enix website is fucking hilarious, man. That shit was straight up made in like 1995, and they were just like, ah. But yeah, it must be like something under the hood is absolutely whack, you know?
After a live letter in 2015, do you have plans to implement a feature such as a book that records items you have obtained once?
Yeah.
And you can drop that item, but still use it for glamour.
Yeah.
With this feature, it'll free up the inventory space. Yoshida says, we have no plans for this.
Oh! We
would increase the inventory space if this was possible.
He straight up rip bozoed. Oh my god, he straight up rip bozoed the idea for implementing the WoW system. Damn. To be fair, I think 2015 was before WoW even had that system itself, so they might have like changed their stance on this. I don't know.
And then, from a more recent Q&A at last, we have so much equipment in the game
you're right,
that it feels like
Laminius.
a waste because it's either we equip them or glamour them. Is there another use for those items, like having them registered as a glamour entry in a catalogue? By the way, my glamour dress is almost full. He says, ouch, this definitely hurts as you're bringing back the old idea of a glamour. I mean, we wanted to do so. We even had the text and all already.
Oh.
We cannot include them all because it's too full and the data couldn't handle it. I mean, if we can somehow make it work, it would be nice, but we're definitely out of space to save such data. We definitely want to realize it one day, but yeah, I'm sorry.
This was 2015 though, he said, right? Like, they must have more budget now. They must have more budget and therefore be able to afford more space and servers and whatnot. Like, it sounds like the philosophy here is we'd rather just give you a bottomless bag than implement the catalog system, which I can kind of get behind, like, because not everyone's going to utilize the bottomless bag, but everyone's character has to have the catalog attached to it. So I can see why the like easier solution is just give you more space kind of thing. Yeah, they are definitely spending their budget where it's needed, you know, like on servers and the whole like cross. Dude, if they bring the cross region data travel and stuff, like just the fact that they have that travel and all that kind of stuff in the game is huge. Like Laminius said, like speedrunning ARR, they were like, okay, we need to get A Realm Reborn out the door, so let's just, you know, chop. And like now because of the foundations, you know, the foundations of the game go back to ARR and then they're in deep, right? Like it's harder to change stuff.
So yeah, unfortunately,
also with cross
like
console support as well, right?
It'll be far, far in the future once some more of FF14's back-end technical spaghetti issues have been further ironed out.
Yep.
It's a shame, because this is such a brilliant potential feature that I'm sure many, including me, would love to see.
Oh, pretty much everyone.
All fishes happy if fish baits have their own inventory separate from your inventory.
Please, oh my god,
and fish
we
too.
need this right now. I don't care how you do it. Give us a bait saddlebag or a proper functioning bait box with an inventory, anything. I don't care. All I
Wait, are there a lot of baits? Because I have 5 baits, I think. But I imagine there must be a lot. But same with fish. Could you not have like a fishing sack or like a fishing net or something? I mean, think about it, right? When you're in the game, the whole, you know, you have like inventory tab and then you have like key items tab. I think my key items tab like has max had like 3 things in it at one time. The fact that that's sitting there empty, surely that could be split in 2. And like one be like a bait thing or like a fish box or whatever.
know is right now
30
I have a
baits.
bait retainer page because I can't stand having it all in my inventory because it just looks too messy.
A bait retainer.
And it's a huge hassle needing to teleport back and forth. Please.
Yeah, no thanks. Fish bag for me.
I beg of you.
Double rings make small difference, but I'm sure a few people will agree. Because some rings be like, you can only have one of these in your inventory and just for rings.
You know, I actually agree with this, I think. We had belts removed due to the equipment bloat, and I can't really think of any major downsides if that second ring got the axe as well.
Oh.
Especially because right now we have overall less armory chest space for rings compared to any other piece of gear, with 50 slots for 2 rings versus 35 slots for one of every other major gear piece. It'll also somewhat
I kind of like rings straight up for the glam though.
The first turn loot being way more annoying to obtain
right, Rocky?
turns because you generally just need more of it. Because there'll be a number of jobs that will use Tombstone Biss as their preferred pick instead, it'll help speed up the gear progression process just a little bit.
I want this shortcut in a story dungeon.
You know the game has got me good when I'm talking about like, yeah, this should stay in the game because of glams. You know that I'm like, dude, my brain just goes there. It's like, yep, got him, boys. He's one of us. Thinking about the real end game, just like, yeah, no, I'm not thinking about ring stats. I'm thinking about like, yo, can I wear a gold ring and like a silver ring or like a black ring over here? Like, I'm thinking about like how big's my gem gonna be? What am I wearing for my party next week? God damn it!
In case I die to a boss, to take me right to the boss I died to, not have me run down a corridor.
Okay, you know what? I'll be real. I've never actively thought of this in my life, but it's a good point. This is so true. When dungeon runs go awry, the salty run back to get to do the boss again is pretty annoying and flat out unnecessary.
They're not, like, there is still a shortcut.
Fixing this would be as simple as moving the teleport points in dungeons to just before boss encounters, rather than in their room after they finished. And then you make the teleport condition to pulling the boss and dealing damage to it, rather than defeating it. It's definitely a very minor quality of life fix, but for me it would be nice to
definitely
see.
Not top of the list. Some of the runbacks we've done are like real bad. Like when I particularly remember Pharaoh Sirius, because it's like the only dungeon we ever came close to like almost running out of time. Because like the teleport took you to the end of the first boss room, and then you had to run like all the way up the staircase where there was like shit dropping from the ceiling and stuff, and then all the way up another staircase to like the dragon boss room, the one with the eggs. That one was a bit of a bad run back, I will admit. I definitely think that they could have pushed the teleporter forward, but it doesn't necessarily have to be like in the boss room itself that you're currently progressing, in my opinion. I feel like it can take you like halfway between the two boss rooms or something. So you maybe have like a 10-second run, but then again, it's like, what's the point in that 10-second run, I suppose? So it doesn't really make a huge difference to me. You'll see more and more of that. Yeah. I mean, I've only done, you know, what, like 30 different dungeons at the moment. There's probably close to 100 or more in the game, I'd imagine. That's kind of crazy. There's like 100 dungeons. Runback gives you time to think about how you messed up. I mean, true. Yeah, Simon to the unsinkable. That guy was an absolute bastard, man.
I'm so glad they removed TP. Every Astro was more of an enemy than the actual enemy. You had a good solid minute of attacks. Then you get to sit in the kitty corner taking a breather because now your in-game stamina was the same as your real-life stamina.
I initially didn't add TP to the previous video, because I thought it was a little cliche and overused. But I've since had a bit of a realization.
Yeah, I heard monks had a particular problem,
like,
right?
Over 4 years since TP and its many grievances were removed, there's a massive subset.
But you had HP, MP, and TP. Oh, wait, but you can't even use MP, right? I thought TP would replace MP. Why is this bar even here? Because, like, this is a melee, right? They were talking about monks. Why is it TP not just... Why don't you have either MP or TP?
Of the FF14
Dark Knight used both? Really?
Never, ever had to deal with it in any way, shape, or form.
That's crazy.
So when
TP
resources functionally existed in combat, it was supposed to be like MP for Disciple of War jobs.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of broken. Every skill used a set amount of TP, and until Stormblood, for some inane reason, using AoE abilities and skills just cost an insane amount of TP on average, like 100 plus. Using your AoE rotation in a dungeon was not free. If your party wasn't super efficient in their damage, it was pretty standard to just
encourages like grouping
on
properly
TP
though
within a few mob packs, and spend the rest of the dungeon hoping you can use the single target boss encounters as a chance to catch back up. It was not ideal.
That does sound a bit annoying, to be fair.
Then there was the fact that certain jobs like Early Heavens or Dark
that's
Knight
where Wall to Wall
and
came
Monk
from then, I
Full
guess.
Soft that would run into TP deficit
because it was just more
from
efficient,
doing their
right?
standard rotation after an extended period of time. It was rough.
Because now I can just
Melee
infinitely
jobs had a
use my
cross-class action called
AoE.
Invigorate that gave them back TP. But for Monk it just wasn't enough. They had the option to spend their 5 chakra stacks on damage, or on an ability that would give them back TP. And there were times where, unfortunately, they
kind of like fishing.
Had to do that. Astro cards worked very differently back then too, as each card had a unique effect that either increased damage or resources in some way. The Arrow cast increased recast speed, meaning you would get out more GCDs while under its effect, costing you more TP.
Reduces weapon skill cast time and recast time.
And if you popped
duration.
Sprint, it would completely deplete your TP in the process, making for a truly horrific mix. Things are much better now on that front. Glad it's gone.
Ninjas
One
could
annoying
give.
thing people seem to have forgotten even existed: damage type debuffs.
Damage type debuffs on enemies were another one that I think I just forgot just how long they've been removed for. For most jobs, they had the option of applying their own debuff naturally as a part of their rotation. So Warrior would use slashing debuff, and they could apply slashing debuff themselves, or they could, say, rely on a ninja to help them out and apply the slashing debuff for them.
Yeah, they had this kind of stuff in coils.
Down themselves, and it would necessary to buff their damage. But we're not really going to talk about those debuffs, their upsides, their downsides, or their synergies today. We're going to talk about different ones.
I remember it being really
Dragoon
confusing.
Also had their own debuff to apply, piercing debuff. And it all sounds hunky-dory, right? Well, ranged DPS also used piercing debuff to increase their damage, and yet they had no way to apply it for themselves whatsoever. They needed a Dragoon to get the damage buff. So if you're in a party without a Dragoon...
So, I assume they removed this because it was like making too many meta comps. Like, did this... It sounds like a good removal, to be fair. It's almost like raid buffs in WoW, where you're like encouraged to take a certain composition because you're like, oh, like if I'm gonna play Bard, then I need to have a Dragoon in my party, and then if the Dragoon's there, we need like a Warrior and stuff like this. So you're kind of like locked into a certain comp and stuff. Yeah, exactly. Enforced meta. Yeah, it stopped the whole bring any class, like bring the player, not the class kind of mentality. So I am 100% agreeing that they removed this. Holy shit, yeah, because that shit is so fucking frustrating, man. Like forcing a meta, or like anything that encourages, or sorry, discourages from taking in just the person who you think plays good and you want to play with, in favor of like, oh, this person plays XYZ class, so we'll have a better chance of success. I think that's like kind of toxic to the game, and that's where WoW's currently at, right?
You just flat out did less damage, no matter how hard you tried or how perfectly you played.
Yep.
This led to situations, especially in PS
it's just
and
too
statics,
powerful,
where you'd get ranged DPS that really
Yo, old
cared
man,
about
how we
their
doing,
funny
man? Long
numbers,
time.
refusing to play without a Dragoon, or declining joining statics that didn't have one. I've had that happen to myself actually back in Stormblood, and PFs very occasionally locking a Dragoon to ensure the ranged would be kept happy. In my opinion, these debuffs could have been somewhat repurposed to be both interesting and not a huge hindrance, but their removal is 10 times better than the status quo that used to exist. We didn't need them, really, and jobs should never feel hamstringed for not having another specific job in the party.
Yep, 100%.
Remove the job limitation from glamouring.
I only have one word to say about this, and it's the correct word. Yes.
Yes.
Accuracy is also a big one. Especially for black
that's
mages.
still in the game though, isn't it? The job limitations on glamour. Yeah, that's annoying. Like I can't use a certain glamour if I'm not playing like red mage or something. You know, that is kind of annoying.
So I do agree with accuracy being an absolute nuisance when it used to exist. Do you remember those accuracy cap images that used to go out every tier, and every melee had to ensure they had back and side max accuracy
like hit
at
chance.
the very least, and the tanks needed front accuracy too. But I think that the role that was most adversely affected by this was actually healers. Maybe I'm biased because
Did your heals miss?
But healers came with absolutely zero baked-in accuracy in their gear. This meant that in order for them to come close to reaching accuracy cap, they needed to stack ACK melds in practically every materia slot. Materia now aren't exactly interesting or meaningfully
it's healer
customizable,
DPS.
but at least you get to see small power increases from using them. They're a net positive. Whereas with accuracy, you instead needed them to be able to play the game properly. They were just preventing a net negative. Accuracy was the worst of FF14 stats in my opinion.
They removed it from World of Warcraft as well.
It's only better for its removal.
Yep.
Surprised you didn't mention having to sleep at an inn to get the rested bonus.
I actually didn't remember this at all. What on earth? That's hilarious.
That is pretty bad.
One thing I'm very glad was removed from something back in 1.0, where character and class are their own levels.
So this one is news to me too, because I didn't play back in 1.0. What I do remember hearing about extensively though was the fatigue
Class job had
system.
their own levels.
In Final Fantasy XIV 1.0, if you received too much XP within a set amount of real life time, the game would intentionally reduce the amount of XP you receive going forward by
That's crazy
for the rest of the 24-hour period. It got removed later down the road. In
Punished for gaming, guys.
But what an absolutely bizarre decision that was.
That's crazy.
They want you to not play the game too much. From
I
the
mean,
screenshots I've seen, it seems like, yeah, when you defeat an enemy, you'd get
I feel like that's reasonable if it's like 16-hour cap or something.
FF14, you had a
did that as well? Did
level that wasn't tied to your job in any way. That's really interesting, actually.
Couple of things I remember. Summoning
Go
and
touch
Scholar
grass.
was used to be able to be hit by debuffs and O attacks.
So this one is true. Your fairy being able to take damage was annoying and definitely had its downsides, but on the whole, I honestly feel like the removal of the fairy as a targetable
that
party
still
member
happens in WoW
also came
with
with
hunter
a number
pets.
of downsides associated. First of all, being able to cast a
Poor hunters,
on
man.
the fairy and then use that to set up a deployment tactics spread low was super fun, engaging and useful, because the fairy was still immune to a number of types of damage. Later on, when fairy immunities were given some buffs across the board, this also meant that you could effectively use Succor
Extracting
to shield
Madeira
the
used to destroy
party
the
would
item.
Take the hit, it would break their shields, the fairy would not take damage to it, and then you can spread the Succor shield from the fairy back to the rest of the party. There was tons more cool fairy tech that you used to be able to do, which is unfortunately lost to time. Shame, really.
Losing 25% or 50% health with weakness and brink of death. Like you were just doomed to die since you're just at half health for the next 2 minutes.
Yeah. This is another good example
Now it's
of
just
a feature
that
that the
throughput,
developers
right? You
realized
lose.
was just hurting combat economy on the whole, and balanced it to allow players to have an easier time. Good change. So these are some of the most.
Yeah, it's like the more you die, the more likely you are to die.
Today.
You're just
because
fucked.
a few people answered with this, and I found it really
Fuck
interesting.
those two,
I'd love
yeah.
to hear your thoughts on this one simple
I'm
question.
hollowing.
If you could have one thing added to Final Fantasy XIV right now, what would it be?
Oh, nice.
Let me know in the comments, and I'm told that this is the part of the video where I ask you to like it, or the YouTube gods will
That's
smite
what I
my
asked at
channel
the
from
start of the
recommended.
beginning. Start of the video.
I always appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed your stay as much as I enjoyed making this. I'll see you next week with another video. My next one is going to be really big. Have a
Really
great day.
big. All right, Renan. I believe you. That was a good video, actually. Yeah, that created some interesting discussion, I think. That was nice. Subscribe. Copy. All right, I'll send you guys the link. Yeah, that was actually a nice video. I'll link it in chat for you guys. Go give it a like. Go give him a sub if you want to watch more of Renan's content and stuff.